Good afternoon from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers and I'm out in the wheat field right now. So we've been talking about our wheat a little bit on Facebook. I don't know that we've mentioned it on YouTube yet or not, but we grew, I think it's around 1/4 of an acre. I can't remember for sure. Around 1/4 of an acre of wheat, just kind of as an experiment, but the heads are beginning to be ready to harvest. So one thing that we did different from how most people grow wheat, most people would go to their seed dealer and buy a specific variety that they know is good for their area. And because we were experimenting, we needed it to be a little cheaper than that. So we bought grain wheat, or bin wheat. It's just whatever was in the bin, and it's usually bagged up and sold as seed for planting deer plots. So it's a lot of different varieties out here, I guess is what I'm getting to. So not all of it is ready, but it's starting to be ready. So what we're doing is we're going to be going through today, picking by hand to pull these heads off. That's a little bitty one here on the edge, but we'll be pulling those heads off, and then we're taking it home, and Brandon has made us a bit of a flail, I guess you would call it, to beat some of the shucks and stuff off of it, and then we get down to the wheat berries and we can package those up and sell the wheat berries. So that's where we're at. So this is our first day picking. Brandon picked some yesterday, just kind of seeing what was out here and seeing how we would process it and that sort of thing, but we're all going to be picking today, so that's what we're doing.
Have it all done.
Okay, we are picking the wheat now. We have no idea what we're doing. We just got started. So we're still kind of getting a feel for how you pick it. You can see, because it's different varieties in here, they're at different growth stages, maturity stages. So you've got some that are fully dry, you've got some that are still really green. Lots of different stages in here. So we're just trying to go through and select the ones that are the most dry. Normally you would wait till the whole field is brown and dry, but we have two problems. First is birds eating them. Let me see if I can find one that the birds have been on. So the birds come in, I can't lay eyes on one right now. The birds come in and they just pick them apart. And so that's an issue. And the other problem that we have is something called seed shatter or head shatter. And that is this down here, where just as the wind blows, it's dropping seeds on the ground. So that's going to create a problem. If all of this starts to drop seeds, we are going to have a lot of volunteer wheat. Volunteer wheat in a patch of something else growing is what we call weeds. So we're trying to keep down the weeds by picking this a little bit ahead of time. So there's still a little bit of drying that will have to take place before the grain is actually ready. But I think this is the best move for us this year while we experiment with this. Okay, so that is about 30 to 45 minutes of work. That's about half a bushel. So the obvious statement of the day, and we knew this going into it, picking by hand is not efficient. And we knew this. We just have to try until we figure out what is efficient, because we can't afford to lease a combine. Well, you don't lease a combine, but pay somebody to come and run a combine for 1/4 acre. It's just not an option. But we got about half a bushel that way, and we've got a plan to try it a different way and see what we get there. It's looking pretty good. We didn't get very far along at all as far as how much is out there. So we're excited to see how much this is going to make. There's the little wheat berries right there. You can see breaking out of there. So we're excited to see how this does, but we are going to try a different method and see if we can find one that's a little bit more efficient than hand picking. This is about 3 days later. We picked wheat the other day. We did it a couple of different ways, just kind of experimenting with what works best. We still haven't found a good method, which is fun because now it is all getting dry and it is all needing to be harvested. So now it's kind of feeling like crunch time. So one thing that we tried is traditional method for harvesting wheat, where you cut it down and you do it that way. Unfortunately, we don't have anything that works really well for cutting it down and not just scattering it. If our field was nice and smooth and didn't have stobs in it, I think a sickle mower like you use for hay would be beautiful for this. But alas, that particular field is very, very rough. Lots of stumps and roots left in it, so we can't do that. But what we've got, we brought home and we dried it a little longer in the greenhouse. We decided it was still a little damp. And it is nice and dry now. And so we already did all the stuff that we picked the heads off already, and now we have to take this around and pull the heads off. And we're starting to thrash it, and I'm going to show y'all what all that looks like as we go. All right, this is our hodgepodge crazy work situation right now. So there's the basket of wheat and straw that I just brought over from the greenhouse where we were letting it dry. We've already done all of the bits that we had just picked the head off. And so this is what we're down to there. It's not completely clean, but lots and lots of wheat berries. It's looking pretty awesome. So again, this is barely a dent in what we had planted. And I'm doing this video. This is not something we're very good at, so I started to not do a video. But I had somebody at a market the other day say, okay, what are you doing with your wheat? Because we got crazy and we planted 50 pounds ourselves and we don't know how to get it out. So I'm going to tell you what we're doing. And if you have also experimented with wheat, you can learn from us and watch your own YouTube videos and see. We are not experts in this. This is our first time doing this. So I'm sure people will have better plans, better ideas than this, but this is what we are doing right now. And again, we still have to figure out the best way to get it out of the field because this is really, really slow right now. So we're still working on that. But let me show you what's up first. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through this and pull each head off. And I may use a knife or pruners or something like that, just because once it's out of the ground, it's a little harder, a little worse to get it off. But we'll pull each of those off and collect them. And once we have a whole bunch of them ready, then I'll show you the next step. The next step will be thrashing, but first I need wheat heads to thrash. All right, so we got all the heads pulled off of the stalks. So that is all head in there. All the stalks are over here, and these will be used as chicken nest boxes, nest box material. So the next thing we do, we've got this in a bucket, and Brandon has created this thrasher. So it's the rod and then the chains, and so the chains beat on this and break up all the husk and everything that's on here so that we can blow that debris back out of there, the grass and stuff back out of there. All right, here we go. So after just a minute or two of that, you can see that it's broken up really well. There's the heads are all mangled, and we are down to blowing this out now. So we have to put it in front of the fan a few times, and that will blow all of this back out of there. All right, so we take the bucket and we're going to pour it in front of the fan, and we have to do this several times. We usually start with our fan on a lower speed and just start by getting out some of this lighter weight material. So most of what's coming out right now is just the husk, the outside bits. So as that chaff blows away, we'll dump back and forth between two bowls, and we'll just work this over and over until we're satisfied with how clean it is. Okay, so this has been blown out twice now. So most of that chaff is coming out, most of the smaller bits, the hulls. So it blows on out, and then we just have the berries and some of the bigger bits. So now we're going to thrash it again and break up some more of these hulls that are still in here. I think most of these are actually empty. They're just still big enough that they're dropping instead of blowing away. But we're going to beat it again and see.
Ready?
All right, here we go. We're going to blow it out again. Now you can hear those wheat berries hitting the bowl. You see the chaff coming out. There is a magic height for where to hold it to dump it to get the most out. We're not real good at that. But we're just going to dump it back and forth several times. We may thrash it again 1 or 2 more times, going for as clean a berry as we can get. There's still chaff coming out of there. Alright, so that's after 2 runs through the thrasher and 4 or 5 runs in front of the fan. You can see there's still little bits in there that we need to get cleaned out. And there's still some green berries in here. What we're doing is we're taking it after it's thrashed and we're spreading it out to finish drying. Anything that is not quite dry gets to finish drying before it gets bagged. And these will be sold as wheat berries, not as flour. So you'll have to mill it yourself, or you can eat them as toasted wheat berries, or however you like to do that. But that's what we've got right now. And we have some good plans for how to get the rest of it harvested out of the field next week as well. So there you go. That's our amateur wheat harvest. All of this is strictly experimental this year. We had the bag of wheat seed. We had bought it a couple of years ago, hoping to grow it for the goats one winter, and we didn't get it planted. And so we're like, well, we'll just plant it and see what we get. And it actually has produced quite well. So we've got to finish working out those kinks on the best way to get it out of the field. But as far as our actual cleaning process, it's working really well. We're really excited with this. So there you go. If you have, by chance, planted wheat and you're not sure what to do with it, this is what we are doing, and it is working. And I'll do a few more videos as we update how we figure out how to harvest and all of those things. I'll do a couple more updates on that as well. Thank y'all for stopping by the farm. Hope you learned something. Y'all be sure and come back when you can stay longer.